In the previous video, I examined the problem of distance that was identified by Sweetnam and by Hope as being a problem in rapier fencing. And I want to start by giving a couple of quotes from Silver on much the same thing. In Brief Instructions, Chapter 4, Section 16, Silver says, speaking about staccata and passata, the low point forward guards, when those two fights are met together, it is hard to make a true cross. And we remember that a true cross is crossing the swords at or close to a 90-degree angle. Therefore, without large distance, that is outside large distance, without large distance be kept off them, commonly they are both hurt or slain. So Silver's saying here, in this case, unless they've got large distance, if they're too close, one will extend, the other one won't be able to parry, and they won't be able to make a true cross. In Chapter 2, Section 7, he says, if two men fight at the variable fight, and if within distance, they must both be hurt, for in such fight they cannot make a true cross. So he's talking about being at what Hope would describe as the first distance, the most dangerous distance. But what he's talking about is the inability, if somebody makes a rapid thrust, but given that both your points are online, to effectively cross the other person's thrust. So basically he's talking about the ineffectiveness of parries at a low angle. Now Silver isn't going to be looking to do thrusts with opposition. That wasn't part of his repertoire. So he's looking to do simple parries, and he's saying that in order to do a simple parry, you need to be able to get a high angle, ideally a 90-degree angle between your weapons. So we've identified some problems with low angle parries, and we've identified that the English used high angles between their weapons when they were making their parries. Let's finish up this examination by looking at what happens if you use an English guard, and we're going to be specifically using Sweetnam's rapier guard, where he has his point quite upright, against somebody attacking, madly rushing in from outside of distance. So we recall how in the previous video, when somebody attacked from outside of distance and I attempted to do a counter thrust with opposition, it wasn't terribly successful. Let's see how I fare trying to do Sweetnam's parry riposte against a similar action. So in conclusion, what have we learnt? The English authors all seem to have, eventually at least, concluded that you should parry at with a high angle between the blades. And what that does is it enables you to get a sure parry. If your opponent is at a sensible distance, what Hope describes as his second distance, and does a sensible disengage, then you have time to make a range of actions, counter thrusts with opposition and the like. If your opponent is standing further out of distance, these actions become problematic and the English parry becomes a more sensible thing to do. Given that, in the opinion of the authors, people were more likely to stand further out of distance in a real fight than in the fencing school, there's the potential that people would be surprised, they'd be attempting to do their perfect fencing school counter thrusts with opposition and find that they wouldn't work out in the reality of a duel. Does this mean that Italian rapier fencing is flawed? No, I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I love Italian rapier fencing, I teach it. But what I insist is that all of the students that I teach Italian rapier fencing to, I insist that they do a bit of Sweetnam. And I tell them, you will come across people who will stand out of distance and who will rush at you. You won't be able to do your subtle Italian actions on those people. You need to have the ability to play the English parry or riposte game. Okay, so what authors like Silver and Sweetnam and Hope are doing is saying, all right, we need to be certain of our defence. All right, we can't guarantee that the person we're up against is going to be sensible and is going to have some degree of self-preservation. They may be a suicidal poke and pray fencer, and in that case, we need to rely on doing what is going to keep us alive. All right, and that appears to have been the English parry. Thanks for watching.